Is it live?
Mm-hmm.
Is that live? Oh, okay. Welcome to the Speaking in Spirits podcast. I am your host, Coach Amber Nicole. I'm here to just shed light on all of the things about coaching, about confidence, and just being the best version of yourself. This is my lovely co-host. I'll let her express herself.
Hi, I'm Vika Me, the creativepreneur, and I'm here to help people get after their blessed life one day at a time.
And as you see, we have a special guest. It's our first guest, right? I don't think we've had a guest before. Yeah, our
First
first
guest, welcome,
guest. That's
welcome.
amazing. So our first guest, she's also an abundant life coach, Keisha. Me and her met through our coaching program. We had the same certification coach that we went through, who's amazing. And so me and her have stayed connected throughout that time frame. So I'll let you express with herself a little bit about who she is before we get into like kind of the questions and stuff in the topic.
Hi, I'm Kesha Chanel. I'm a certified abundant life coach, author, speaker, healer, and I help women rebuild confidence and overcome what took it. And I just wrote a book. I feel better already, and I want to help you do that. Feel better already.
Yay!
Congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, yes. And then if you can put your link up in here too, because that's going to be on the YouTube, your the book link to how to buy it, or we can do that at the end, however you want to do it, it's fine.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So the first thing we usually do is what? Go ahead.
We'll do our praise reports.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Okay, so who wants to start?
Go ahead, ma'am.
All right, I will go first. I'm always like going first. Like, let me tell you what God did this week.
Yeah. Yes.
This week, God is still showing out. I tell him my prayers, God, show up and show out in my life, because I want to take the limit off of God. I want him to show how, amazing he can be in my life by surrendering. So basically, uh, you know, the I work in the government, and so everybody was basically almost in a panic that the shutdown was about to occur. And I'm just sitting here like, I'm fine. It'll be okay. God's got me. And it's just like another like sense of peace that we talk about a lot, that it just surpasses all understanding, because I'm just like, when did I get into this mode of just trusting him and like knowing that I'm okay. Whatever is gonna happen, I'm already good. Like I've got extra, um, things going on the back end of my life. So it's like it'll be fine. And the staycation, that would have been a blessing. So it's still temporary. It might happen in 45 days. We'll see. But that's my
Yes.
praise report. That's my praise report.
Okay.
Awesome.
That was good. For me, my praise report is honestly just being happy that God I see God moving my life in a different way. I see a shift a little bit in certain areas of my life where I'm like, I don't know if I want to go that way, but but I know that I'm always obedient to what God called me to. So shifting, however He shifts me, is okay. So yesterday I went to a domestic violence awareness event, and I was a vendor there, and I actually didn't plan on being a vendor. The girl called me. She was like, "Hey, I got a free vendor spot." I'm like, not prepared, didn't have nothing, just oh man, let me, what I'm saying? So I got there and my little vendor section looked real ghetto, but I did what I brought what I could. I had my books out there and some cards. As long as I'm here sharing my services, like that's all that mattered, right? But just being in that room really, really enlightened me about like a lot of what I talk about with my story, but also talking about how did I get to where I was, like the domestic violence stuff or whatever. How did I get there? Was really really big. So a lot of the shift is coming from childhood stuff that I feel like the Lord is telling me to share more of. I share a little bit, but kind of more in depth about like the family aspect, what I was going through, how I was thinking. Like I share what happened, but the shift that God has taken me on. But I praise Him for that because, like I say, I'm going to be obedient to what God called me to, and I'm grateful that He is calling me to help people in that area. It's a little scary to go deeper in that journey, but I am grateful. So I am grateful. All right, Keisha, what's your praise report for the week?
I
Well,
love
my praise report for the week is two, and it was I live where God told me to live. He told me the title of today is why are you hiding? And in two instances today, I recognized that I was hiding and I stopped. It was one I was hiding, and then the other one was more validation. But either way, I'm growing, and it was just like, yay! And so when you recognize that you're growing, and when you recognize it's like I'm not that same person, it's just like I'm getting better. It's just like
Yeah.
the best feeling, you know?
Mhm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
it feels good. But it doesn't always feel good, if you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's a
Mm.
stretching, it's a tearing, it's a breaking down. But at the end, when you walk up, it's just like, hey, you kind of did that, God. Thank you. So it's just like, yeah. So that's my praise report that I'm growing and it feels good.
Love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
For all of us, it's kind of like a evolution, growing. Like we went to the Women Evolve conference. I don't know if you know that,
Oh,
but
you went too good.
yes, yes, it was amazing. And so just from there, I've been telling her it just seems like the conference is still rolling, like we're still living in it, even though we're not physically there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is I've never really experienced that before, so it's hard to articulate what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that we all have this sense of evolution and changing, and that we're all learning and growing. That's something we were talking about offline. That it's hard to have conversations with people who are like just basics conversations. So to be able to be in the environment with women that are growing, I'm just happy to be here.
Nice.
So you did mention the topic of the day. Why are you hiding? Did you want to share a little bit about your experience of what made you ask that to yourself? Why are you hiding today? Or why you think God put that topic on your heart?
Well, because one of the biggest I've overcome a whole lot of different things in my healing journey, and one of the biggest that I had to overcome is people pleasing and hiding who I was so that other people can feel better, and not only so other people can feel better, because I think that that's what they want me to do, or like if they saw this part of me that they wouldn't like me anymore, or if I asked this question, they would say no, just like deathly afraid of the word no. It's just like, but why? And it's just like, because we don't recognize how amazing we are and the wonderful gift that we are, that God made us. And it's like every time I talk to somebody, most of the times, is we can't see who the wonderful person that we are, and it's like because we just tend to hide. It's like
Mm-hmm.
if they knew this about me, they wouldn't like me, so I'll just hide. And no, and it turns out that you have so much to offer, even if it's just a conversation or a smile, it blesses so many people by you stop hiding. And I just want to help people stop doing that because it took a long time for me to stop hiding. And I'm glad that I did.
Hmm,
That's
I
good.
like that. So what is people pleasing and how would you define it for our listeners?
Ooh, I don't know, like a psychology, like a psychology today definition. But for me, people pleasing has been, wow, that's interesting. So, what is people pleasing? And then what was the second part of it?
And how would you define it for our listeners?
For our listeners. All right. So for me, people pleasing is doing what somebody else wants you to because it will make them not make them feel. And I've always had this issue, like within my healing journey, like because like it's relationships. It's like you want to serve others, you want to be a great giver, and all that stuff. It's like, so what's the line between being a great giver and serving this person? And being a people pleaser, because you want to please them, you want to make them happy, especially if it's a marital relationship or it's a dating relationship. There got to be a synergy, right? But you please another person to your deficit. You just please them and please them and please them, and there at no point you receive no good feeling from it. You please them to the point of resentment. You please them to the point of you being empty. You please them to the point of you don't even know what your opinion is anymore.
Mm.
You don't even know who you were at the very beginning, like who you were before you just started pleasing them. That's people pleasing to me. I don't know the actual definition,
Yeah,
but
that
to
was good.
me, that's what it is, and it's just it is defined because you do, those great relationships. You are a giver, and there is a great receiving from giving and that smile on her face. But at some point, you have to say, hey, that doesn't feel so good, and when are you going to do something for me? As long as there's a synergy, that's what God wants for us. It's not a constant pour until there's nothing in your cup.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, that was good. It is. I do feel like it's always you giving, 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 because I want you to be happy with me and I don't want you to be mad and I don't want to start any strife between us. So you constantly giving, giving, giving. But I also think that on top of what you said was people pleasing also has to do with not being able to set boundaries for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're pleasing the other person, you're doing, like you said, at a deficit. You're doing at a deficit means I'm not even setting any boundary. If you need it done, I'm just gonna say yes. Even if I'm tired, even if I'm overworked, even if I got other stuff I gotta do, I'm gonna try to figure out how to fit it in here, to put it there, to make I'm crazy, not make my time crazy. You know what I'm saying? However, I'm over giving, overdoing, and that's where it comes. That's where the people pleasing comes in at. But yeah, what you said was awesome. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when I realized I was people pleasing, it was so other people would like me. Maybe if
Mm-hmm.
I did this or said yes or went out of my way, it would make them like me. Until I realized that wasn't the case. It's like you were saying, I'm depleted. I'm my cup is empty and I have nothing to give anymore. And then where are they? They're gone. So it's
Right.
just like that's what really woke me up. And one of the questions that we wanted to ask you are, what are some common signs or behaviors that indicate someone might be struggling with people pleasing?
Mm-hmm. Well, what Amber Nicole said is like not being able to set boundaries for yourself. The other
Mhm.
one is big one is like when you do the thing for the person, you don't feel any joy. You feel resentment. Another big one is you're doing it only to get an outcome, like you mentioned,
Mm.
so that you can like me, or hoping that they'll do it for you in the future. But there's some kind of outcome that you're trying to get, not just from the goodness of your heart. There's some kind of outcome that you want to get. But the biggest sign is that the person is not happy when they're doing it. There's no joy. There's only resentment. There's only anger. There's and you're doing it like if you don't have the money here, if you're not really capable, you're just doing it just because to make the other person happy, and you're gonna come up negative in the situation. For instance, if you have a certain amount of money, this person is like the person needs 100. They're asking you to lend you $100, and your rent's due, and that's $200, and that's all you have, and you still give it to them anyway, just because it's them. And here you still know good and well you got a rent to pay and your light bill, and
Mhm.
so it's just not. And even even with I don't know if y'all seen the meme from Tyler Perry about you can go a little bit on the light bill. Have y'all seen that one?
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh my
No.
word! So let's talk about that then,
Like how?
because that was the whole thing for me. And the reality is because so the gist is Tyler Perry did an interview with a young lady that's like viral on TikTok, and in the interview, like the 15-second clip, he says there are so because as black women are very educated, and sometimes we make more than the black men, and because we've had this dynamic of needing black love in our community, and the black men sometimes we just have to say, hey, if you can just go a little, you could just pay the light bill and you take me out to eat, that'll be fine, baby, as long as you love me, right? To me, that's recovering people pleasing, because there was a time in my dating journey after my divorce, I would have been fine with that, because I didn't want to be alone. I wanted a man just to say I had one finally. I wanted to not necessarily be married, but just coupled up in a relationship. I wanted a warm body, So I would have been fine with you just paying the light bill, secretly resenting every single time I got to pay the mortgage, I got to pay the internet, I got to pay
Mhm.
everything else. That's
Mhm.
people pleasing. That's a sign
Yeah.
of people pleasing. And so I was like, I gotta learn how to do those little clip things. I was like, because I want to do one because like other women have done. Well, and I don't want to do it when I want to do it from the recovering people pleasing thing because I bet you it's plenty of black women out there that just want that warm body, and that's all that man can do is a light bill. I don't want to see that else. Ain't no way in the world. H no.
Ain't no.
Ain't nowhere in the world because I mean, but the reality is there is a time that I would have been like, okay, that would have been okay
Mhm.
for me, but there is no way in the world that I would settle for that now. And as recovering people pleasers, that is something that we would be okay with, just being okay on the light bill because he loves me. But there's not that much love in the world that that guy, an able-bodied black man, that could just put some money on the light bill and I got to pay everything else. That is people pleasing. That is doing something to your detriment for sure. So
Mhm.
that's a sign that if you're still in people pleasing, that you're going to settle for something like that because you shouldn't. Because he needs to kick in something too.
For sure. For sure.
Mhm.
Um,
I want to ask a question really quick. Sorry.
Mhm. Yeah, sure.
Because it's in my head, so I want to ask now before I forget it.
Mhm.
Can you define or do you recall like the specific moment where you realize like I'm a people pleaser? Like I can't believe this. Like you know what I mean? Was there like an aha moment for you or something or afterwards of why you were in it where you realized that this is wow, this is what I'm doing right now and why? Like
I wasn't in it, but in my whole marriage, well, not my whole marriage, after my children were born, because I mean,
mhm.
before our kids were born, everything was fantastic. We had much better communication, but when my kids came, I was just exhausted. But I felt like I'm supposed to do all this. All of the black women that I know, they did everything. They don't have a whole bunch of help from man. They don't. So I didn't say nothing. I just did and I did and I did it. And I resent it and I resent it and I resent it. But and I didn't recognize that I was in that place until after, my healing journey and then becoming a coach. And I was just like, hey, that whole time I did all that out of resentment. There was no love anymore. I just wanted to be married so I could have the title of wife. There was no more love. There was just doing and doing and doing. But I mean, an empty freaking cup, very empty cup. But I didn't realize that I was in it. But I mean, I've been a people pleaser for years. And it was like
yeah.
one of my lowest points is I recognize that I've always pleased somebody my entire life. Whether it was my parents, my ex-husband, my children, my job, then being a coach, and it was just like trying to please everybody, trying to get some money. It's like, okay, let me coach you. Let me just, oh, you want me to do this? Okay, it was just constantly needing validation and pleasing everybody my entire life until it was just like, hey, I need a freaking break. And what about me? What is it that I like? And so it was just like, oh my goodness. So it took a whole lot of time. And you would think that, as an empty nester, I would just have this time, freedom, my kids are gone. I can run the streets. Yes. And it was just like, who am I? What am I doing? What do I
Mm,
even like? What kind of, I mean, I didn't even know what kind of food I liked. I mean, because it was just like, I had to learn who I was. So my entire life was people pleasing. So it was a whole lot of stuff that I had to relearn.
yeah, yeah. As I hear you talking, what I hear you saying is that ever since I was like a child, there was a moment where I felt like I had to like earn people's love in some way. Like I didn't feel like I was worthy enough to just receive it. And it either they done something or they didn't. You just thought that, you know what I mean? And they just applaud you for it. And sometimes when you get applauded for certain things, then we think that we have to keep on working for it. You know what I'm saying? Versus just sitting back and receiving. And as I'm the older that we're getting, I realize that receiving is a worthy thing where I'm worthy to receive someone's love. I deserve someone to love me properly. I deserve to for someone to please me. You know what I'm saying? And but that is a very feminine trait. And when you're used to always doing and doing and doing, which is more masculine side, then it's hard for you to sit in the femininity of who we are because it's a more softer receiving and I deserve this. Um as I'm on my feminine journey, I'm not being so masculine anymore. I realize like some of those things. But that's why we coach, right? You know what I'm saying? Because part of coaching is teaching that you are worthy, whether it's people pleasing, whether it's confidence, whether it's um what was the other one we are going to talk about? It was the other topic, Keisha. I can't think
Hiding,
of it.
validation,
No, codependency.
codependency.
Like the
Okay.
codependency, like those things right there is like those all have a level of I don't think I'm good enough, or just being able to receive. So that's kind of what I hear you saying is that you was working for somebody to do something for you versus just sitting back and receiving or
Mm-hmm.
thinking you're worthy enough to receive, I guess, as well. Because
Yeah.
when you're able to sit back and see if you're worthy of receiving, you're not saying nothing about your marriage, but your marriage would have worked in a different dynamic if you was more of the willing to be the receiver. You would have seen how that person, responded to you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I wondered that a lot because that's what one of the things that I would really love for my book to do, and just my coaching in general, is to save marriages. Because I wonder, and my ex-husband and I are on speaking terms now, and it's like we both said, we wonder what would have happened if we had both gotten, because he had some healing to do for his current marriage, and I had to do some healing to do for my life, and just wondered, like, we got these lessons, but it's good that we got them, even though
Hmm.
we got them after the marriage. And sometimes you need that shake up. God sends you that shake up so that you can wake up. And then that way you could, go on and doing living your best life, the life that he intended you to live while you were blinded by this thing that you were
Right.
blinded by.
Right.
Yeah, so I kind of have the same question, so that's interesting. We were on the same wavelength as always.
Yeah.
But so as you were speaking, you're saying you woke up, your children are out of the house, you woke up. So what did your recovery look like in your personal life and professional, if you wouldn't mind, like, kind of giving tips on how you can recover from being a people pleaser, and then also like learning who you are and how that has something to do with um breaking down the def- not a defensive mechanism, but basically just the need to have to make sure everyone but yourself is okay.
Mhm. I'd say the best answer for that is this right here, my book. So my book is based on my healing journey.
Hmm.
And it's a
Yeah.
5-step formula, and it's a 30-day journey. It can be 30 days. It depends on you. Because after the first week, you're like, oh, you want to take a little while break, and that's all you do. But it's a 30-day healing journey, and I call it the Feel Better Formula. And in order to heal from anything, it's 5 steps. And the first steps that you have to do is acceptance. Now, acceptance sounds nice, but acceptance is one of the hardest things you can do, because
Hmm.
denial is a beautiful fantasy until it's not. That at some point you get tired of being sick and tired. You get tired of, hey, I'm receiving nothing from this, or hey, I'm being, like she was talking about the feminine thing. I'm way too masculine and doing and doing and doing and receiving nothing. Not that he's
Hmm.
not offering, I'm just not receiving it. So it's just
Right.
like, or if it's your weight, or if it's your job, it's your finances, it's the way that you speak to people, it's the way that you speak to yourself. Whatever it is, you have to accept the reality of you. And when you do, then you can go on and move on to the next step. And the next step is to make a decision. And to make a decision or not is still a decision, because you can make a
Hmm.
decision to say, you know what, I'm empty, but I'm so used to giving and giving and giving. And it makes me feel good sometimes, or he cheats only sometimes. Her husband cheat all the time. And so it's
Hmm.
just like, and it's your complete choice. So a decision just to stay in the situation is perfectly fine if that's what you want, or you can decide to move on and have more, and and just like, hey, I want to do better. I want to do better, and that's your decision. And then the third step, because it inevitably happens that when you make a decision like that, it's more than just lip service. You have to have some action behind it. Something has to happen. And when something happens, there's a stretching, there's a tearing. There are so many emotions that come up. And so the third step is to release any pain, blame, shame, guilt, all that stuff that comes up when you make that decision. Because sometimes when you
Mhm.
make that decision today, you want to run back to where you were tomorrow. And if that's what you choose, it's okay. You just have to remember you made that decision. And so
Mhm.
you can also choose to go back. But ideally, you won't. And you just need to release all that stuff that comes up. And that's what I had to do. I had to release so much stuff that came up, and I had to release it repeatedly. And I went back repeatedly, and I made the decision over and over and over repeatedly. And so it's just this thing that happens. And then after you release, because you after you release and you let it out and you pour it out and you cry it out and you cry out to God in whatever way that you choose, and then you have a clean slate, you have an empty space so that you can empty all this stuff out so that he can fill you up. And that fourth step is filling you up, building up your confidence. And there's so many different ways. My book helps to build up confidence with prayers, scriptures, quotes, motivational quotes from other people, quotes from me, different tips how to incorporate all this stuff into your life. But build up the confidence. And sometimes people have their favorite podcasts they like to follow, like you guys. And some people might have, IGs that they follow, people that inspire them. And Amber has a wonderful, she's always doing something great on confidence. So it's like somebody that's going to build your confidence up, or like a good book that you can read on a daily basis, something to fill your good book, could read the Bible, what God says about it. Bless you. And so it's just like building up your confidence. And then the fifth step, which is often the hardest, is to fight to keep it. Because when you built up that confidence and I feel good today, thank you, Jesus, for bringing me here. Tomorrow, something can happen and it can shake you and rock you to your core, and you feel like, but I thought that I was better and I thought that I was healed and I thought, and you actually are. It's just you have to fight to keep that confidence that you built up. And it's not just a one day fight, it's a constant thing. It's whether it's a support group or it's again the podcast or whatever it is, you have to make sure that you stay in it, and you have to fight to keep that confidence that you build up. And that's the way I healed. That's the why I wrote this, to help other people through that exact same process.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I love the number. I love the last one because that is the hardest, is to stay in the space,
Yeah.
because you always have that other person in, because she is me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So the lack of confidence that we had at one point in time, we still could have that. We could still tap back in there. So like you said, the constant daily practices of the affirmation, of prayer, of meditation, of getting coaching, which is so important, is to have a coach be there to hold you accountable during that process. Getting therapy to heal those back things, those hard wounds in the back, but constantly in it, because I always like to share with like my clients is, if they're expecting this arrival moment where they're like, I'm here, it is not going to happen. You're really just going to look up one day and say, dang, I actually said no. Last year I probably would have said yes to something like that, and this year I said no. Like, you know what I mean? So it's no big aha. It's really just as you're moving forward and you're doing all the things and taking the steps that you said, those 5 steps, then you finally get to this space where you're more at ease, you're more at peace, you feel better about yourself. But there's definitely no bigger rival, you constantly have to battle your mind and your heart to continuously stay on the journey of building yourself up, and constantly building yourself daily.
I want to go back to one thing that you said for me that is very key, is holding you accountable. Because, and coaches, and we as coaches, it's so key. But, because sometimes we think that we can get through with a group, we can do it on our own, or they can just read my book and that just be enough. But that holds you accountable piece, especially with the fighting to keep the confidence, because it can be very easy for, you to feel down today. And it's just like, you that coach helping you feel accountable. Or not only if you can feel down, you can feel like you've arrived. This is like, oh, yay, I've done it. And I don't need to do that anymore. That coach coming alongside and reminding you, no, you need to pray today. You need to do those affirmations. What is it that you said to yourself? That holding you accountable thing, that's so key. Because if you don't have that thing, it's very easy to slip back. When I say the devil is busy, and it's like people don't like to always say that, he knows exactly the thing to get you. He knows
Mhm.
exactly the thing to get you. So if you don't have that person that's holding you accountable, that not only holds you accountable, but reminds you how far you've come, because
Right.
sometimes that's one of the biggest things that we can do as coaches too. Is it's like, especially, because we as coaches, when they tell us their whole deep story, we can remind them. I say, you said that you wanted this. You said that you
Mhm.
didn't want this anymore. And it's like that reminder, that mirror, that support, and that spank in the butt sometimes you need, because it's
Yes.
like you need a little bit of sandpaper and a little bit of sugar at the same time. And we as coaches can do that for people. So when you said that, hold you accountable, that's some serious stuff. And it's
Yeah.
so needed, especially in these times when things are crazy. You need that support. You need it. And that
Mhm.
support that's going to be there for you. And not, because it's like, oh, she's speaking to me with the Instagram that's wonderful, those 30-second clips. But that one that's gonna hold your hand, and then, I won't say they call you in the middle of the night, but it's just like that you got that session coming up, and you gonna pour your heart out, and she gonna support you and get your crown tilted. That's the importance of coaches. So, Amber said that's massive. That's so big. That hold you accountable piece. It's really big.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I also think with the last step, that one hit home for me too, because I'm like, I'm literally in this fight every day, um,
Mhm.
all day, if you will. And a lot of it is keeping yourself accountable, is celebrating your wins, is seeing how far you've come, seeing the journey of evolution of your life, of, like you said, things that I would have said yes to last year, I'm saying no now, or things that I'm like, oh, I'll make sure, your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. Like, that's something that should be remembered, because that will help you in the fight if you don't have that support. Like, you have your support system, but they might be busy with whatever X, Y, and Z, shopping, taking care of their kids, living their lives, like, you're not going to always have someone to call on all the time. So by holding on and remembering the things that you've done to, correct the people pleasing, and learning that you're not that person anymore, that you have evolved, that you are blooming, that will continue to bloom and garden inside, so that okay, I'm struggling right now, but I'm going to hold on to this hope. I'm going to hold on to who who I am working on becoming, so that, even when the devil is trying to be combative at me. Oh, that was a lot. But, even if the devil is trying to attack me, I can withstand it, because I know I am stronger than what I have been, where I
Mhm.
was. I'm no longer that person. I am now, um, you know, if you're a child of God, you're a warrior of God. Or if you're like, I know I'm not a procrastinator anymore. So if just because I want to put something off for one day does not make me a procrastinator anymore. It means that I'm giving myself grace to rest. Like, just different ways of thinking. Like you were saying earlier, it is a mindset shift. But I'm not trying to say, like, don't have a supportive group. Just celebrate yourself and know that once you can get in contact with your support group, contact them. Don't think like my whole thing was, oh, they're not available, they must not care about me anymore, or this, that, and the third. It's like, that's a lie. Because who said that? Your internal self said that. Like, nobody else said they don't have time for you. But I really enjoyed that fight to keep it, because it really is something that should be known. Like, you definitely have to fight for the things that you want, the habits you want to break. Like, it's easy to reform those habits because you've been doing it for years upon years, and
Mhm.
breaking it will take time and practice. So as long as you're focused on those goals, you'll definitely get there.
Mhm.
Sorry. um there was one question she said. Oh, yes. So, breaking free from people pleasing. What are the patterns that people should fight to keep? Like, how do they recognize that? their servicing or their acts of service is not people pleasing, but it's a healthy type of service. Are you Does that make sense? Did my question make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Um, when they are receiving something back, when they can do it, and they don't have to do it consistently all the time, like every single Friday, and this Friday you want to hang out with your girlfriend instead of going out with him. It's like, not tonight. And it's not a whole lot of animosity received back, and it's just like you can do it in pleasure. It's like, you know what? I'm exhausted. It's been a crazy day at work. I don't want to do it tonight. And the response is okay. And a lot of times the response is going to be okay anyway, but you just think that it's going to be no. But when you have the courage to do it, and it's just like for you to say no to somebody, and it's just like, I did it, and they didn't know about me, So it takes some courage, but yeah. But it does take courage. I mean, it took me a long time. It's like for the longest, I would just clam up, not even ask. But I had to hit like rock bottom to start. No, I can't do that. Or no, you know. And then when I started saying no, and it's like no and no, are they gonna throw something? And it's like I'm still here, and it was just like okay, I can keep going. So that's it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
wonder
I
if
was,
it oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I wonder if our fear of no is stemmed from when we're kids being told yes and no, like as we're growing up, we're going through school, our parents are telling us no, teachers are telling us no. Like, is that just how we've gone, like, been conditioned to be like, oh, no is a bad thing? It's like, it's not always a bad thing.
Mhm. Yeah, well, for me,
Yeah.
it was conditioning as a kid, But what I find is like, because I used to think it was just me, but when every time that I talk to anybody that's the '70s babies and a few '80s babies, they were the same way, and it's like that's just how our parents parented. Smack first and ask questions later, or never ask questions. It's because I
Mhm.
say so, or you don't even think about saying. We don't even ask you your opinion, and it was just like everything was done controlling. And now the interesting thing is, like our generation, we work hard and we get the thing that we need, but we're also very compliant, and we had to fight to get out of that compliant thing. And when we noticed that we were compliant, either it made us compliant or combative. So it's just like there's very, very few in between unless they've done some healing work. But our generation, because we tried to be reasonable, like with me, with my kids, I didn't want to spank them for a while, and I tried the timeout and all that stuff. No, that didn't last. I went to smack them. But my children were a little bit more. It's like my children, and I remember my mother was like, ain't no way I would have done that with y'all. And it was just like, but I really tried to give them a voice. But but parenting is the grace of God to me. It really is. Because it's like each generation tries to give the next generation what they didn't have. And sometimes that's to their detriment. They feel more entitled. They don't feel like they have to work as hard as we did. Because if we did anything, said anything, what? It was like, it was like the fear of God was in us, just trying to reason with our kids and explaining. But I'm just grateful that my kids have a very healthy balance of my ex-husband and I. So it's we've gotten some benefits. I've had a lot of benefits from that. But I've seen some kids that are not quite as balanced. They are entitled as AF, and it's just like it makes no sense. But it's what our generation did. We tried not to do all that because we felt that we got damaged from it. But the next generation, I don't think it served them very well either, being to too extreme. So ideally, it's a healthy balance of both.
Yeah, that's what I actually had that conversation today. I was like, I definitely started with like raising my daughter sternly, like if there was a few whoopings here and there, but as I grew up, well, I guess I can say that as I grew up because I was 24 when I had her. So I'm like, I'm still growing as just a mature adult. So it's like, okay, she hasn't been here before. She doesn't know all the things that you're expecting her to know. Like, you haven't even sat there to teach her. And then that's when I started gentle parenting, but I still have a sprinkle of stern. But I think that is interesting because you say even with your own clients, you have the sandpaper and you have the soft. So it's like you do have to have that balance.
Hmm. Yeah, that's how I learn. I learn because it's like I've got friends that are therapists and friends that are coaches that sweet nurture me. Oh, you're so wonderful, Keisha, and this voice is so sweet, so sweet, so sweet, and it'll go in one ear and out the other. But I also have a coach who curses me out. So it's just like, you know better than this. What are you doing? And it's like, you're right. And then she'll come in, but you know I love you. I don't want to see you stay this way. You've got so
Mm.
much in you, and blah blah. I did actually. I had this conversation with Amber when we talked about the podcast. She says, "Are you doing this? Are you hiding? Are you dimming your light? Are you giving?" I said, "Okay." And so sometimes God will send you even just a friend or somebody you haven't heard from in a long time. Does not have to necessarily be a coach, but He
Mhm.
knows how you get motivated, and I get motivated. My truth is, I'm motivated by the sweet and firm at the same time. Too firm, I'm not responding, and too soft, I'm not responding. But a nice mix of both, I'm good. And so,
Yeah.
but He knows you, and He sends you what you need when you need it.
Yeah. I was gonna say that exactly what kind of what you said. With the kid thing, obviously each kid it depends on what who the kid is.
It does.
Because with some kids, you can yell at them and they all of a sudden whip into shape. I'm not doing that again. There's
Mm,
some kids you can yell and yell and yell and yell and they do not care. You literally gotta like hardcore put it down punishments. Like they only receive it the hard way. Like if you don't give it to them difficult, they it's like she ain't gonna do nothing. She just gonna yell. You know what I mean? So it's
mm,
all about knowing that person, and it's the same thing. It's the same way you grow up. You grow up that way. You grow up needing it done more, like you said. For you, it's the balance. Some people, it's like I need to really be hardcore because I just know I'm hard headed and I just don't listen. You know what I'm saying? And there's some people who's more sensitive, where you're just like, if you talk to me like that, I'm tuning you out. If you talk to me in a harsh way, I can't even hear you anymore. So having those balances are important. So it's important to learn the person,
mm,
especially with your client. It's important to learn the client that you're working with, to make sure that and you'll know after a couple times if they're listening to you or whatever the case may be, how things go.
mm,
But I do want to shift a little bit because I know part of the conversation we talked about is you also wanted to talk about codependency.
mm,
And so I don't have that much experience with codependency. So this is a little bit of a different realm though, but I would like to hear like your take on like your journey and some of the things that you experience with codependency in your life, in your relationships and things like that.
Well, codependency is basically people pleasing. It's just basically the same thing, and it's just
Hmm.
feeling like you. And but the thing is, you're not don't recognize that you're codependent until you're out of the situation, and you do the acceptance piece. You actually sit down and you look at your patterns, you look at your family patterns, and you just kind of sit and look at things. And the biggest thing about codependency, just like people pleasing, like when you give to a person, if you can give and you feel nurtured and you can give with a boundary, it's not necessarily people pleasing. And codependency is just like you can be in a relationship and it's like being dependent on a person because in a relationship there needs to be a certain amount of interdependence. I depend on you for love and support, and you depend on me for love and support, and that's what we do this thing together. But codependency is when I depend on you to a point that if you don't give me that, I fall apart.
Mm.
See, like if we're like I mentioned before about going out, with the guy, and if he wants to go out and play, play cards with his friends or go watch a basketball game with his friends, and you're at the house and falling apart, you don't want to be with friends, you only want to be with him. You're sitting in the house, isolated. He doesn't love me anymore. What is he doing? Let me call him. Let me just follow him. Can he stay with me? This story that goes in your head, and you make this one thing of him wanting to go and hang out with guys, you make it to this mountainous thing that he wants a divorce and all this other, all of these things just because he wants a little freaking space.
Yeah.
And if you just chasing. Well, why do you have to do? Why do you have to? It will only push him away. Like I'm just wanting to go hang out because I hadn't seen him in a while. It wasn't anything that he wanted to do bad, but it's always to your detriment because it's also beneficial to you for you to go out and hang out with girlfriends. It's also beneficial to you for you to sit and zone out and watch TV. It's beneficial for you to walk in the park, and smell some freaking flowers, something, not constantly being up under the sky all the time. But codependence is that thing that tells you you're nothing without him. Or it also tells you he's going to be doing something when you're gone, when he's gone. That's what codependency just tells you, all these lies about yourself. It's kind of, and it has a very big piece in that worthiness thing. But it's just like you become obsessed with the person instead of being, obsessed with yourself or just loving yourself. You're not even obsessed, but you're like obsessed with them and everything in their waking moment and what they're doing, and how you can control that, or how you can be involved in that, everything about them, and you think it's love because you're so crazy about this person, but only to the thing of detriment, because there is no you anymore. It is only, and we as women, it's really easy for us to lose ourselves, but that's why we have to, just pull that thing back. And losing yourself is not necessarily codependence. Losing yourself and not getting yourself back, that's codependency. So it's just like when you lose yourself, it's like, hey, I know good and daggone well I haven't done this. Let me hang out with my girlfriends and blah, 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 blah. And then you can start to feel yourself again. Do those things that you used to like before you got with the guy or got married or whatever. That's, a nice healthy balance. But codependency is like all you care about is him. And you could also be codependent on your children. You don't have to just be codependent on the spouse. You could be so
Yeah.
codependent. Because I actually became codependent on my children. Because like after my divorce, I was so codependent on my children. And when I became an empty nester, that's when I recognized that I was codependent on them. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Mama, what? And I'm just very fortunate that my kids do call me. So it's just like, okay, because I felt like I can't call them. They're in college and they don't want to hear from me. And it was just the story, the story, the story. And they was like, okay, just call and say hi, mom. This is like, okay, you do love me. Oh, thank you. And it's just like this awful thing. And it's just like stories that you play in your head that are just complete lies. Nobody told you these things. It's things that you make up. And it's just like, again, the enemy knows exactly what to get. It's like, this is what will make you stir crazy. Let me get this, And that's what it
Mhm.
does. And that's codependency, essentially.
That's good. Thank you for sharing that. I love the fact that you just said codependency doesn't have to just be in romantic relationship, but it's with children.
Yeah.
Because I have
Job
seen
too.
so many parents give up their lives for their kids, where it's all about my children. I'm gonna not date anymore because I'm just gonna be a parent, and wherever my parents, I've heard a mom say, wherever my parents, what, not sorry, wherever my kids, like when they graduate when they graduate high school, when they go to college, I'm following them to what college they go to. Like literally
Yeah.
no life, and I'm just like, my life is for my kids, and they really think like that's a good thing, and I'm just like, that you're losing yourself and your children. So when they eventually they have to grow up and get married and have their own kids, what are you going to do? You going to be in their life and at their house every day? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I love the fact that you shared that you have to have a life outside of your romantic partner. You have to have a life outside of your children. You have to have girlfriends. You have to have your own community, you know what I'm saying, of girlfriends that you go to. um Obviously you and your spouse have the you little community there or whatever, but even within that, the girls, the wives or whatever, in that you guys have to have time together outside of the husbands. Like, you got to have to do stuff together and be able to have your own sense of self. That's what I'm trying to say. Your own sense of self. This is who I am. This is what I like. This is what I do. And when you're codependent on someone, it's almost like I'm losing me, so we could be we, but we in the sense of whatever you want and wherever you go and whatever you do. Like, so it's almost not a we, because we still means that I have a me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. So you're losing yourself at the detriment of the other person. And sometimes what I found, and because I've actually done that before, I didn't realize I didn't consider that codependency. Thank you for teaching me. So this was years ago. So I had confidence and all that. So don't be okay. Anyway, so so it was, I didn't necessarily ask me to be that way. I just became.
Yep.
Like he wasn't like, I want you all to myself and I don't want you to go out and I don't want you to do. Now it eventually came to that, but I think for me, I started it by not going out with friends, by being all over him. And I just want me and you, and every day and every hour and every minute, me and you all day, no one else. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then so I created that. And then when I wanted to be like, okay, I'm tired of you. Now the honeymoon stage is over. It was like, no, no. What you mean? You've been giving me all this time now. And then it was downhill from there. But so really having that healthy sense of me, my community, what I do, myself, outside of the relationships, including children relationship. I hope the people in the podcast and the out there, I hope y'all hear that. Stop letting being codependent on your children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Get your own life.
Yeah.
They let them live, let them be free, let them have their friends. Stop following them around everywhere. Okay.
That part. And what I
Oh
also
my
wanted
God.
to say, when you said sense of self, because this codependency is also, you could be codependent on your parents. Like when your identity is a caretaker, like when your parents, and it's different because like if your parents are sick, it takes a lot of time and it can be very draining. But you have to find a balance to recognize it's like, okay, I need a little something for myself, but this is our generation is a lot of times a caretaker to our parents. And so it's just like you can be codependent on that. Just like, okay, I can do this for, this person and I'll feel better. And it's like, if it makes you feel better and that's your only identity, it makes you that identity as caretaker and, giving, and also giving opinions when your opinions never asked for it, feeling like you got to be the one to take care and fix and do everything for people. So you can be codependent on your parents and you could also be codependent on your job, like constantly needing validation from your job. And if they don't give you the validation, you fall apart, and that can be a codependency. Like you can stay super long hours just to make sure that you get that one kudos, you can get that little email or whatever it is, that gold token that you want, not recognizing that they're only going to ask you to do more if you do more.
Mhm.
So it's like you could also be codependent on your job and your parents and anything that your identity is except God and your own original identity and sense of self. So that's why when you said sense of self, it really hit, because sense of self, and it's like you are, you wear many hats and you are these different things to these people, but without your own sense of self, you can be nothing to nobody. So it's very important that you have that sense of self, like she was saying, so that you can, be that light that, God called you to be for so many people, because otherwise you won't be able to be anything for anybody.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, yes. Let me say
especially
one more thing.
Sure.
okay.
And it's just a question, not a question to you, but a question I want our viewers to ask themselves that you just prompted me in my mind. So, guys, when you're thinking about am I people pleasing or am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing out of serving? Ask yourself, am I doing what God called me to do, or am I doing what my emotions is telling me to that I want to be pleased? Is God, am I doing what you called me to do? Am I serving in the way you called me to serve? Am I showing up in the way you called me to show up? Or am I doing because my emotions feel like this is something I have to do? Like you said, I want to be validated for this. I want to feel good for this. Or am I doing it because I feel like the Lord really, this is my purpose. This is what He said I should be doing. And this is how He said I should be serving. So I just want to put that out there.
Mhm. And then also, guys, ask how you feel in it, because she mentioned the emotions that you might want to get, but also how you feel in the act. Because if there's a little slight bit of resentment, that's a sign.
Hmm.
It's a little bit too much, because you shouldn't resent it when you're giving. And if you do resent it, you say, but and that's when you ask God, like, hey, do you want me to do this thing in the first place? But if there's the slightest bit of resentment, you just make sure you be in tune with yourself, and that, like she was saying, that sense of self. If
Yeah.
you have enough of that, you can ask yourself, hey, how does this feel? Like, ooh, that doesn't feel so good, and I feel this when. And when you recognize how you feel, you'll know it's people pleasing and it's not healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been kind of touching on what both of you are saying is so I model on the side. That's one of my back end things. And I'm like my own like agent. So I'm doing my 9 to 5. I'm doing my modeling. Then I have another job. So I'm doing all this stuff on top of being a mother, on top of being a daughter, on top of being a sister, on top of being an aunt, on top of being trying to become a wife, on top of being trying to be a friend, on top of this podcast. Like, it's like so many things. It's like, when are you taking the hats off? That's what you guys made me think about. And I had told Amber, I was like, I feel like this last few months of the year is for me to take a break. And now, like, listening into this conversation, I'm like, oh, like, this is so I can understand that I'm not taking my hats off. I'm just putting them on and stacking them. And I look like a clown. Um, but it's like, um you can balance the life, but are you balancing it, or are you trying to just take it all on to yourself instead of
Mhm.
asking God, is this something that you want me to do? Prioritizing what should matter. Are you prioritizing your rest, or are you just keep moving, moving, moving because you're codependent on your work, like you're saying? Is it, or are you chasing the bag, if you will? Because that's what I was trying to do, and I was realizing, like, I'm not as young as I once was. I need this rest. I need my beauty rest. I need my mental inner beauty rest as well. So it's
Mhm.
interesting of, when do you realize that you have too many hats on and you need to take them off? I feel like that's my new shift or turning point of my journey of evolving and coming out of people pleasing. I feel like, because I'm trying to do so much, it is in a sense a not a factor, but just how do I want to say it? A piece of people pleasing. I feel like it's still there.
Mhm. Well, the really thing that hit me when you said, oh, I can't, how you said it, inner mental rest. That
Inner mental beauty.
inner mental be that part right there, because because we can rest and like I'll like lay down, mind still racing. Like, dang, I got to do this. I didn't get to do this, especially as a coach and with a full time job and just writing a book and trying to promote it. It's just like,
Yeah.
so when you said that inner mental beauty and rest, it's just like, but that's the importance of meditation. That's the importance of prayer. That's the importance of breathing and just sitting the heck down. And so it's just like, I gotta sit down and just chill out, God, and I gotta sit some time with you. And so when
Mhm.
you said that, and especially because we as women, any race, because I know a whole bunch of races of women that got these hats on, so it's just like, because I know I work with Asian women, I work with Filipino women, I work with Black women, and they all have all these hats, and they all work more than their freaking husbands. And it's just like, where does this happen? But it's just like, we just have this thing that we take care of everybody, and we have on all these hats. And so it's just like that inner mental rest is so key. And it's just like, but nobody's gonna give it to us. We have to take it ourselves. And like, that's
Mhm.
part of that fight to keep it, because it's like, it's a choice. It's a decision that you make. It's just like, hey, they need me, they need me, they need me, but I got to shut down or I will shut down. So when you said that intermittent rest, that's me. I mean, I gotta take it. And it's like, and it's a part of my daily practice. So I gotta do that in the mornings. And if I don't feel right. My day does not go right. So it's like, and I'll be like, "Ah, I'm kind of cranky." And it's like, I forgot to do my breathing. This is what's wrong with me. So it's just like,
Mhm.
seriously, when you don't take that time, it makes a big difference. So that taking that inner rest is just as important as the laying down and getting your 8 hours or 6 to 8. It's really
Yeah.
That is definitely important.
mm-hmm.
Especially the breathing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't do enough intentional breathing. I'm like, just here, just living my day-to-day life. But when you're like breathing, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's another thing they spoke about at the conference. I'm like, that's something I wanted to start incorporating in my day-to-day activities, because you feel lighter, you feel more alive, if you will, if you are intentional about your inhale and exhale. It's like recentering, if you will. So I had to write those steps down too: breathe, meditate, pray, and rest, because that's
Mm-hmm.
what I need right now. Just
And
because
it only takes 5 minutes. and not even five sometimes, to get you to, just a little bit of clarity in your head. Ideally, it should take, longer than five, but just to get you to move it a little bit, it only
Mhm.
takes 5 minutes and it really helps.
Sorry, I'm writing my notes.
No worries.
I write notes all the time. Okay, let me see. One more question for you.
I think another thing for me is reading the word. I
Mm,
can always tell when I have went some days without reading the Bible because I get a little more agitated. The enemy is after my mind a little bit, where I'm getting a little more like, okay, having these thoughts. That's like, where are these thoughts coming from? And normally I can just combat them down. But if I haven't read in a little bit, a little while, a couple days, a week, what I'm saying, I can always tell because I start getting more anxious, or I start believing things that I'm just like, I thought I fought this. You know what I'm saying? So reading the Bible is like my foundation. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and pull up U Version Bible. I'm like, what's the verse of the day? Like, you know what I'm saying? Something so simple to constantly feed that word inside of you so that the word can become me, so that we can keep fighting these thoughts and these battles and be able to rest. Because when our mind is constantly going, um, you have the word to really rely on and as rest, so you don't have to be so anxious and worried or frustrated or whatever. White noise for me too. When I sleep at night, I sleep with a fan, either a fan or a fan sound. I have a fan sound on my phone. Like, I have to have white
Love
noise.
that.
I cannot sleep without white noise because as a thinker, as an introvert, I'm constantly thinking. I'm constantly in my brain. I'm constantly, oh, I should do this. Oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. So when I lay down at night, I am always thinking, and not necessarily from a worried perspective. It's like ideas I could be doing, or what could I be doing here? Or my business could be going here, or I should contact this place tomorrow, or like, you know what I'm saying? And so listening to white noise when I'm laying down at night, or even napping. Matter of fact, anytime I lay down, whether I'm napping, anytime I lay down, I have to have white noise to drown out like my brain, like continuously going.
it helps. It really does.
Mhm.
Whatever we can do to drown out the noise.
Hmm. To really feel that full rest. Because, like you said, you could lay down for 8 hours and wake up still be tired.
Mm-hmm.
I had those days, like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah,
still, I'm not tired. I'm still like, I did not sleep. I thought I went to bed early last night, and I wake up and I'm still drowsy. Like, that's
exactly.
because I didn't really sleep. I just had my eyes closed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to ask is, do you have an excerpt from your book that you would like to share with us?
Ooh, like that 30 days of stories. So it's like, there's the other thing about my book is I also have each day has a section called "Walk It Like I Talk It" that I live each day of the book. So it kind of depends on what you want to talk, what you want to learn about.
Anything about the hiding, how to come out from hiding?
Ooh, I think I would like to read about my ex-husband. I think I'll read about that. Okay. For years, I had a toxic love for my ex husband. He was the first person I felt loved by. First, everything, actually. First date, first kiss, first sex, first love. I initially didn't think romantic love was possible for me because of my molestation. He was sweet and hella attentive and satisfied me sexually for a long time. For various reasons, our marriage fell apart, and I plunged into crippling valleys of depression, despair, and despondency for years. My love for him was so toxic that I subconsciously tried to please him for years after the love was gone. Besides the fact that we were together for 30 years, I think there were two main reasons I was so stuck for so long: identity and approval. It was imperative that my ex husband liked and approved of me at whatever cost to me, even after our divorce. For me, he was an idol, and a visit to the judge and a piece of paper didn't change that. My identity as a wife was an idol as well, such a coveted title. Who was I if I wasn't his wife? The pedestal I created for him and that identity as a wife was massive. After therapy and inner work, I realized I was more in love with the idea and hope for love and marriage than with the man that once loved me. It took years to let that man go. The pedestal, however, has been destroyed. I want to please God and myself more than I want to be someone's wife. I remind myself that I love and approve of myself when I get low. I'm not 100%, but I wanted to share here that there is hope after a toxic relationship. I'm thriving afterwards, and so can you.
I love that.
Oh,
Oh
thank
my
you.
gosh.
Yeah, because that's why I think that that could resonate with the approval thing, because it's like
Mhm.
it took years to even hear his voice. So it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
My
I love
my
that.
kids have because I was on a podcast the other day, and I think it's so funny that, well, it's not funny actually. Praise God for it. My kids, nobody knows how low I was in my life, but my kids. My kids have seen me at my lowest, and they've seen me at my highest. And so it's like they ask me about my parenting, and it's just like because they have seen me go through both things. It's like they have respect and they have love for me because they've seen me at both stages, and so they know that I did the best that I could, and it did that with regular conversation. But it's just like, know how it was when we were going through the thing and they couldn't talk to him inside the house. They had to leave the house because if I heard his voice, I would tremble. Tears would fall. I didn't say any word. I wouldn't say, I'm having a tough time. I would just tremble and cry. No words. And so that's how it was just to hear his voice. It was that toxic and crippling. They would have to go outside or close their door in their room and whisper. I was a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like, yeah, my kids know how bad it was. So, but yeah, praise God for healing.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm so happy that you were able to rise above it all, and I believe that the 5 steps that you talked about, acceptance, make a decision, release, is like that would be very evident in this conversation, like you wouldn't even be able to share that with us because you're still going through it. So
Mhm.
I have put your book in my Amazon cart because I was like, I need to feel better. And yeah, and I would love to learn more about how to um get through the healing process, and especially getting over toxic love and having hope after it. That's kind
Mhm.
of the thing that I struggle with right now, is remembering that I'm worthy of a healthy love and that I deserve it and that it's possible. That's the possibility of a healthy love is what I'm trying to hold on to, but it kind of slips through my fingers and I go back into my afraid. I get afraid that like, perhaps it's not possible or it won't exist for me, or you know I might get hurt again. But that's kind of the beauty of being vulnerable and finding love again, is having that hope that it um it is a possibility, that if communication up front about my expectations or things that I might just be assuming is what is expected of me, certain things of that nature um, could help in the relationship that I'm looking for or waiting for, basically. So
Mhm.
I really enjoyed listening to that excerpt, and thank you for sharing a bit of your life with us. It was
Yeah, it was
really
pretty.
intense.
So, well, yeah, I could ask you afterwards because like, one of the things that, because like I said, healing just to hear his voice. One of the things that helped me heal was dating. Because
Mhm.
for a long time, like with acceptance, for a long time, I was in avoidance and just thinking that, okay, I'm getting better, I'm getting healed, I'm not triggered because I didn't hear his voice for years, didn't get text messages for years, so I didn't have anything triggering me. So but I recognized it's like, at some point I want to get remarried. At some point, I would like to have a man in my life. So I had to go on the dating sites. And what I would find is that when I went out there, it's just like, whoo, I'm triggered. I'm not healed, and it was just like this whole idea that I wasn't healed, but I actually was. But the thing was, because I was in avoidance for so long, I didn't know how to react with men. And I was with this one man for 30 years, so I didn't know how to talk to any other man. So part of my healing has been dating. It has been talking to men in conversation. It has been, you know, God open me up, show me what it is that I need to work on, not to be better for this man, but to be better for me. Show me the me that I need to be. So it's just like It's one thing to heal from toxic love, but at the same time, it's got to be a healthy amount of, because that's just part of it. Because when you're thinking it's, oh, I'm not ready. But it depends on where you are in the journey, though. Because if in that same space where you're in pain and you're and balled up, that's different. Like if it's still fresh, you don't want to do it. But if you're actually going through your healing process, it's important that you get your toe back in there, even if it's just once or twice. Put that profile up and just like, oh, I'm cute. You think you like my picture? Thank you. You just do a little video chat. I'm gonna go to a date with them, a little video chat. It's like, okay, and then you see what kind of things trigger you, because you won't know until you. Because if you're avoiding it for years and years and thinking you're healing, you're not. You got to get
Mhm.
in there. Get in the arena, like Brene Brown says. You get in there, see what triggers you. Then you step back and work on that thing. Then you step back in there again. So it's just like, but that whole fight to keep it thing is real, because for years I was in avoidance thinking, okay, I'm healing up. And girl, that whole dated after 50 and after divorce, that's gonna be my next book. Because what I say is an adventure. It's just like, Keisha, you're doing what? And it's just like, I had to see me. So it's a
Mhm.
whole other adventure. It really is for me. So, but I praise God for it. I know that I'm growing. And it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I gotta say this and I gotta tell the truth, and not hide. But yeah, it's just like so many areas of our life we can hide. We can hide away from men, we can hide away from our lives, and we can actually hide away from ourselves. So that I found that dating has helped me, come into my own. It's just like, okay, I said this and I didn't tell that man the truth. I know good and daggone well that's not what I want to do. So it's just like, okay, just be real with yourself and go for it. So it's a journey. So you can also hide from yourself if you don't just tell that, but that's people pleasing when you're hiding from yourself. You're just like, if you know it in the deep in your heart, this is what you want, and you don't say that thing because you think that they're going to reject you for it, that's you hiding from yourself. So, but yeah, but just give that, give the
Mhm.
world some of that, Camille, because you're amazing and sweet, got a great smile, and you know,
Thank you.
yeah,
That's so kind.
yeah. And you don't
Uh,
want to God. It's like, yeah, God has so much more for us. He doesn't want that to be our final story. That's not what our final story. It's not.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh, thank you. This has been amazing. Do you have any other questions, Coach Amber?
I was letting you get coached. Giving you your moment.
Yeah.
You needed it. I don't think I have any more specific questions. I think you kind of really honed in on what it looks like to be codependent, people pleasing. We kind of shared how that is not just with in relationships, but it's in work, with your children, just all just different aspects and area of your life. I think the one thing that we realize is keep God first
Mm-hmm.
above all else, because it really sat with me when you said, I want to please God more than be a wife. I hope women hear that, because when you are pleasing to God, you'll be a great wife, but the wife that He called you to be, where it'll be an amazing relationship, it'll be loving, it'll be reciprocity in that relationship where you guys are interdependent and giving to each other. So that's what we desire. And a lot of women obviously do just care about the wife title, but then you end up with trauma and all these other issues. So let's not focus on the wife, and let's focus on being what God called us to be, to putting Him first and pleasing Him first, and then finding the husband. Because once you're in a healed space, and not totally healed, obviously, because like you said, you don't know that you have certain things until you get in the arena, until you start dating, until you start doing the things, and you're like, oh, okay, I still need to work on this. So
Mm-hmm.
there are certain things that you never know that you still need to work on until you start getting into a relationship with someone. So obviously not waiting until you're totally healed, but doing a level of healing where you're ready in a sense, and you're aware, and you can date and get the help at the same time. Because that's what's important, is that you're doing the balance of the two,
Yeah.
not just going in there and just saying, okay, I'm ready, and then forgetting all the stuff you learned because now you just want to be a wife again. No, no, no. So keeping God first, foremost, above anything else, is what's so important, and trusting His word, and then he who finds a wife finds a good thing. Okay, so then you gonna be that good thing, baby. We gonna be that good thing.
Mm.
But as long as he's our source above all else.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about that, about the wife title, and he that finds a wife finds a good thing. Because for the longest time, and that's actually, can I say it? No, I won't say that. Because that, because being single, that's like such a coveted title for so many of us, especially if we've been married before. It's just like we feel like we got to get to that, we got to get to that. And like that whole thing, like what Tyler Perry saying, oh, if he just loves you and goes a little bit on the light bill. I think it's so important as women that we recognize who we are before the man comes. It's like when you were saying, letting God be our source and our first love, and loving ourselves. Because if we go into the marriage, the wonderful marriage that He blesses us with this idea that I'm just so glad that I'm a freaking wife. You're gonna get in there after the honeymoon is over and after the big wedding is over. Not even 6 months. You're gonna not only resent it, you're gonna be tired and looking at this man crazy, like, what the heck I married you for? I don't even want you, because you were just so busy wanting to be a wife. So, when she was talking about putting God first, it is so important. And it's just like, because that's a source of love that you don't have to worry about ever stopping. And the other thing is about, this wife title, you're going to get that codependency quick. Like when he want to go hang out with the guys, you're going to be like, but I'm the wife and I'm the wife. And it's just like, it gets your mind all twisted up in knots, and don't do that to yourself. He's a human freaking being, just like you are a human freaking being. It is very important that we as single women, and it's a wonderful, beautiful thing. Marriage is a wonderful, beautiful thing, and I will be married again. But that cannot be our source. It cannot be an idol, because it will become an idol, and you will not have it if that's what it is. So it's so important that we get that mindset, tripped up. And then the other thing is, like, you don't enjoy your life before it comes. So it's like you gotta enjoy where you are now, right here, right now. Feel better already who you are and who He made you to be before you get remarried. Because otherwise, and if he does get that, because that's what he did to me. Because it was like a period of time with when my ex and I were separated, and I was just like, "Oh my God, I just want us to be back together." But he was an idol. He was an idol. God gave him back to me, but when I say that was like 6 months of hell in my life, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm trying to please him, and I'm trying to." I was so anxious. I was so scared. I was stuck in fear. He was miserable, and I was too. But God gave me what I asked for. And so
Mhm.
when you get that thing, if you don't have it right ordered, you're not going to be happy. So it is imperative that you put God first and love yourself and enjoy your life where it is before He comes. Because there's so many times we as single women, we think that that's the be all end all of life. And especially if you've been married before, you know that it's not. You know that it's not. You just think that everything is so much better on the other side. So it's just not. Just be happy where you are and start healing where you are, and that thing is gonna come. But that thing about being coveted as wife, man, it's some real stuff. It's real stuff. Even if it's the fact that we just want to have sex again, legal sex. And it's just like, or whatever reason it is. But
Right.
it's like, no, that's real freaking
It
talk.
is. It is. That's why I laugh, because I'm like, that's so true. So
It is.
true.
It's like, but y'all, but it's just so many of us. But it's a journey. It's a journey. But it's just like, but when you get that thing, it's like, wait a minute, I'm gonna enjoy my life right where I am, because you get there and you don't know how to interact with the man, you is gonna be sitting there looking crazy, and you're gonna be in that exact same space if you hadn't done your healing stuff. So it's just like, it's really important that we get ourselves together and love
Mhm.
ourselves, so that we can have something to give to the table, something to bring to the table. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Exactly. And I feel like that's a red flag. Like if you're who you are and you're healing and you're doing your work to develop like loving on you, and then you meet somebody who's like basic, not talking, barely want to interact with you, barely want to say, call you, see how you're doing, don't even take
Exactly.
you out on the date. It's like these are some things that I'm going to take into
Exactly. Yeah.
marriage if
But
you
you
can't.
still marry him. And it's like, but I thought he was gonna change. Man, shoot. Girl, you better stop on. I could
That is a red flag. What happens in the dating and talking, just getting to know them stage is gonna happen the rest of their life. So
yeah.
that's why I be cutting people off. I just feel like I'll give you one more chance. And they still don't learn. It's like it's above me now. I'm moving on. It's above me now.
Yeah. But as long as you're communicating, because it could be like, if you're not communicating what it is that you need. So are you communicating what you need?
That's the thing.
So yeah,
It's
so just
for
recognize
me, it's the basics that
uh,
I haven't gotten past the basics of I just want a phone call or going on a date. Like I don't understand why that has to be communicated if we're in the talking stages. Because
no, it does have
like
to be communicated. It does. Because like but again, but this is healing. Because like I've been on the dating
Mhm.
side. I'd say it's like 6 rounds now. But each time, like my first round of dating, like when I first filed for divorce, I attracted like the guy from on fries at McDonald's. I attracted a homeless guy. I attracted
Mhm.
all kinds of really, really low class guys. And I thought it was, this is what was out there. I was like, well, okay. And I just stayed out there because I didn't know anything about that. But I got off after a while. And then I went on again and I attracted a little bit more connection, a little bit more of all those good morning, beautiful, good morning, beautiful, good morning, beautiful, good morning with the happy face. And so it was just like all these little levels. But each time I came up, when I felt better about myself, I attracted better kind of men. And so this last time that I went on, I attracted guys that have their own businesses. They're doing better for themselves. But I recognized in me that I was closed. Men that actually wanted relationships. And I'm like, no, we just met. I'm not doing that. I'm doing the multiple thing. It's easier for me. But it was just like me recognizing that I'm closed, even though I'm 50 freaking one. And at some point, you need to settle down, Keisha. I was just like, so why is this? So I had to look at me. What is it in me that's saying, no, I don't want to settle down? Why? So it's just like, each time it's just a level of evolution and level of question asking. So it's just like you recognize in your, but then the reason I was saying that because so many men, they do the good morning, good morning, good morning until you say, hey, I appreciate the good morning, but it would be nice if we went out on a date. At any point, are you going to do that? Is that, this is what I like. And then if they don't respond, okay, take care. And that's what I had to do.
Right. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Cause I'm like, I don't even get the good morning. I don't get a hello. I don't get, are you still on earth? Like, that's what I'm saying. That's a red flag. Kick them off. Like, I don't feel like I have to communicate. I want a hello. I want to be greeted. Like, to me, that's the bare basics for me. I'm just like, if you can't do that, there's a problem there, you
Yeah,
know?
you gotta let them know
But
that you don't like it, and that's what I do.
mhm,
It's like, okay, I don't, and it's like, okay, but I'm gonna have to let you go because I don't like this. This is boring to me. Take care.
mhm,
So yeah, it's been an evolution, but it took me a long time to say because for a long time with validation, when I got that good morning text, I'd be like, yeah, he said good morning to me. Not recognizing that he got like 25 that he's good morning.
he
Good
copied
morning.
and
But
pasted.
it made my whole world. It was like, yay, good morning. He said good morning for a whole month. Yay, girl, bye. It's like now
Mhm,
I need a little something from you, a little bit more than words. So it's just like,
mhm.
but it's evolution. It takes time. Yeah.
Right. And then I'm realizing by me not communicating what it is that I want is another form of hiding. So just like
Yes, it is.
that
Because
was
you're
something
afraid of
for
what
me.
they're gonna say. It's like, are they gonna like me? Are they gonna be mad if I say this? But I recognize that I had to either them be mad. And I think the cool thing about the dating site, especially if I hadn't met them and they're doing this thing, I explain. It's like, it's been a nice dialogue, blah, 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 but I'm going to block you now because I'm not receiving anything from this. Take care. Hope you find, success. And they've been, okay, and I don't know if they're okay or not because I don't hear the response because it's just like, but I say something sweet to say bye. But it's like,
Mhm.
I can't do it. It drains me after a while. It's just like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want all that. I need conversation. I'm a conversation person. I don't even like all the texting that they do. Talk to me. So I'm good to get my number out. Like, look, we're going to have a conversation after this little dialogue here. I need to talk.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, so it's been interesting.
Hmm. I love that.
Hmm.
All right.
So I'll move along from my coaching session. And we've come to the part of manifestation.
Okay.
So, again, this is just the part of our podcast where we talk about what we'll be manifesting with the Lord, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's in the week, whether it's a month from now, whatever is on your heart, we go ahead and share.
Hmm. So for me, I have a 5-day challenge coming up with my book. I feel better already, and I'll be walking ladies each day, a different step, the 5 steps. And I'm speaking that I will have a great number of women to sign up, or men and men, people that just want to be, healed and delivered from approval addiction, And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm speaking 100 people to sign up
All
for this
right.
free thing. Hey, you don't go to God with a little teaspoon. I
Mm-mm.
serve an abundant God. He can give me
That's
a little bit
right.
like that.
Amen.
Let me ask
Yes,
him
you
properly.
will.
So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm believing for a massive number of people to sign up, and, so I can share with. And I think I'm going to do it on the 16th is when I'm going to do it. So yeah, so that's what I'm manifesting. A great number of people to sign it. I mean, do y'all have like a certain way that you say it, or you just say what you want God to do?
Nope. That was
Okay,
it.
okay,
You did it just right.
okay.
Okay, do you have one, Amber?
Yes. Okay. So mine actually came from Pastor Joshua Giles, and the only reason why is because, well, Prophet Joshua Giles. So the only reason why is because today he did a video, he did a live, and in the live he talked about how um all of God's people who's been going through like a hard time, and it's not looking like you're in God's presence, and it's and what everything you see right now, it looks like God has completely like just left you. He said God wanted me to tell you that he is here with you. He wanted me to tell you that Amos 9:13 through 15 is happening for your life. And the reason why Amos 9:13 through 15 is important to me is because that has been my anchor scripture for the last 2 years. I
Nice.
had it like in my room. I had it in my house. I say it every day. Like, and honestly, Prophet Joshua Giles is where I got the scripture from. So it's like a full circle moment that he brought that scripture back again. These 2 years later from when I first started saying it. So now he was like, God told me to bring this scripture to you guys and let you know. And I'll just share what the scripture is or a little piece of it. So Amos, and it's the Message Bible version, by the way, as well. So Amos 9:13 through 15 is, yes, indeed, it won't be long now. God's decree. Things are going to happen so fast that your head will swim. One thing fast on the heels of the other that you won't be able to keep up. Blessings on blessings on blessings, like wine pouring off the mountains and hills. God is making everything right in your life again. And then it talks about how he's going to establish you and you'll never be uprooted again. And so he was just sharing that. So a part of my manifestation is kind of that, like finally God is moving, and he was like, and be prepared for the big blessing. So you've been able to get through the I can't remember the word where he called it, but it was basically like I remember he talked about a python and a snake, where he basically talked about it kind of looked like the python stole your life, like and it was in there, and you was constantly fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, and now you're going to be at that space because even during that stage you kept believing in God. You didn't give up. You didn't lose faith. Even if you had moments of it, you still kept faith. And that was me. Like I had moments where I was like, God, I'm ready to give up. Like I can't do this. You're going to have to come through for me. And so I'm basically manifesting that Amos 9:13 through 15 for my life, that I'm ready to carry the big thing. Like to be able to, I know how it is to live, the small life, you know what I'm saying? I'm ready to be on the big stages. I'm ready to have thousands of people where I'm talking to. I'm ready to have a waiting list for my coaching clients, you know what I'm saying, and my group calls. And so I'm preparing mentally to be able to have the big thing, because obviously because I've never been there, but I have heard enough that the big is heavy too. We always want the big thing. I want to get all the clients and do all the things and travel and all of that, but obviously I'm preparing. So I'm mentally preparing myself and manifesting those big stages, having, being in the big places, traveling. College just keeps coming up to me. So being able to, and actually I'm supposed to speak at a college. Some girl at the domestic violence awareness thing that I said yesterday that was free. There was a woman who came up to me and she was like, "Do you speak at colleges?" And I was like, "I feel like someone else asked me that, so I'm thinking colleges, speaking at colleges is something that's about to be for me." She was like, "You know that colleges have budgets for speakers?" I'm like, "Yes, I do know that, ma'am." She was like, "Well, I'm part of like the Black Student Union board." She was like, "So we have a speaking engagement about domestic violence on October 19th." And so she was like, "If you will be a speaker, I can present you to them, and then obviously it's up to them whether they say yes or not. So let me not say I'm not going to do it, but I'm saying yes, whatever." She was like, "I have to present it to them, and as long as they say yes, I want to bring you on or whatever." I'm like, "I'm ready, girl. Just
My
let
God.
me."
Yeah. Let's get it in your calendar now.
Yes. Name of Jesus. Woo! That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes. So I'm just manifesting the big stages, speaking in colleges, and just continuously sharing and sharing at a bigger level. Like I've done this, and I'm happy where I was at for the time I was, but I'm ready to take it to the next level. So that's what I'm manifesting for my life.
Yay.
Oh, I love it. Both of yours was so amazing. But I remember once you said Amos 9:13, I was like, oh my goodness, that's her scripture. And then,
Hmm.
prophetess Tiffany Montgomery says it. So
Hmm.
her friend Sophia Ruffin, I can't remember what her married
Hmm.
name is. She's been saying it. It's just like keeps coming up, keeps coming up. I'm like, oh my gosh, it keeps coming up. And I'm like, I'm not ready. I thought I was ready, but I'm not ready. I'm just like it just makes me cry because it's like I feel seen, I feel heard. Like Miss Keisha and I were speaking of before. What something I battle with is feeling seen, feeling heard. That God is showing me time in, time out that He sees me, He hears me, and I just know He's going to do something great for all three of us because there's this conversation is a moment for a reason, and all of whatever glory I'm feeling right now is on our lives. And I hope that you guys feel it as well. Um, what
Can I
I
say,
wanted, oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I just want you to say something for me. But could you just say that I'm so looking forward to feeling seen and heard and valued? Because when you say that you're battling it, it's just like you're staying in the battle. And that, as far as like with the manifestation, just say you're looking forward to coming out of that. I'm so looking forward to feeling seen and heard and valued because as long as you keep saying I'm battling it, you're going to keep battling it. So just
Hmm.
just say that little tweak for yourself.
I
That's
like, okay, so I like that. And I'm working on speaking intentionally. So I'm going to go a step further and saying I am seen and I am heard
all
because
right.
I'm like, no, we're in it right now.
Yes, ma'am.
And you literally just um vindicated that right here and right now, that
Yes,
or
ma'am.
verified, excuse me, that I
Yes,
am seen and
ma'am.
heard.
I'm trying to baby step you when you went all the way into it. You go, girl.
Yes.
Come on, sis.
It's the preacher in me. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay. That's how it's done. That's how it's
That's
done.
our little inside joke.
Yes.
Um, what I am manifesting, hmm, that's actually a very interesting. Normally, I have something, but every once in a while, I don't. Um, I think I'm just so I feel the Holy Spirit with both of your manifestations. I'm just like, oh my gosh, just kind of feeling all of those feels. Um, but that's what Brene Brown actually taught me is like, just, you don't have to have something right away. You can sit there and
Hmm.
ponder, you can sit there and feel.
Yep, that's true.
So I think what I want to manifest is just completely trusting God
Mm,
because he has shown me in just this conversation that he has everything already laid out. And whatever it is that I'm going through is so minuscule to in comparison to who he is. And I've um I've been working on cutting things out of my life, whatever is toxic, and doubt is one of the things that I'm working through right now. And I'm manifesting no doubt in my life anymore. when it comes to my relationship with the Lord. So I'm going to manifest a solid trust, a solid foundation of trusting God and surrendering completely.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
Good for you.
that works. That's what we all need. Just
Mm-hmm.
solid foundation. God gonna do it, but God gonna do it, but we gonna do the work. We gonna co-create with the
Mhm.
Lord, because faith without works is dead. So we gonna collaborate with what the Lord has for us, and listen and be intentional about hearing and sitting with the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, before we close out and do our prayer, because we usually end in prayer, I would like for Keisha to kind of share like where our listeners can find her at, share her social media, her book, Amazon, as you said you got
I
so
think it was
Well,
Amazon.
I appreciate you going to Amazon, but I also there's going to be a link at the bottom or
there you go.
wherever the link is after it. I prefer you buy it directly from me
Okay.
because Amazon gets a massive chunk out of the
Yes, they do.
profit.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
it's just like I prefer that you get it directly from me from the link that's in here. You can find me on Instagram at I am Kesha Chanel. You can find me on LinkedIn at Kesha Chanel. And Facebook, I am Kesha Chanel Palmer. And TikTok is I Feel Better Already. I'll likely change that, just put my name back up there. But yes, I'm on all platforms. So yeah.
So
All right. All right. Um, okay, that was good. This was a great conversation, guys. I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for listening. I hope this really blessed the women and the men that needed to hear this podcast, because this is not just about women. This is for everybody. This is for all God's people, for us to come together and have these vulnerable and open conversations, to kind of share our life with you, to share our journey with you, to let you know that you are not alone. You have people who dealt with the things that you've dealt with, and that we have overcome and still overcoming, the things that we've dealt with, and just know that it is a journey, and to get more comfortable with embracing the journey versus getting to the destination.
Mm-hmm.
um, that's what we focus on. All right, so prayer. we're
go
gonna
ahead. Pray us out.
we're gonna close out in prayer before we end. Everybody bow your head and close your eyes. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on my mind today, Lord. I thank you for this conversation of all of us coming together and being able to share with our people, with your people, what we needed to share to you. Lord, thank you for Keisha getting on the call with us and being able to share her journey. Our first guest, we're so excited that we'll be able to do that, Lord. I ask that you continue to expand our podcast, Lord, and expand our territory for who reaches our podcast, God. I thank you for all that you're doing in our lives, Lord. Lord, all of us receive that you said that you're going to do a new thing in our life, and as your remnant, that you're going to come through and bless us exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ever ask, think, and imagine. And we are receiving that for our lives, Lord. I thank you for every podcast listener that's watching us right now, Lord. I ask that you give them shalom peace, Lord, that you help them through whatever they're journeying in their life right now, God, that you help them in a way that only you can do, Lord, so they know that you are the source of it all. You said Jesus is the way, not a way, but the way, Lord. So I pray that they continue to learn that you are and Jesus is the way and the truth and the light of our lives, Lord. I thank you for all that you're doing, Lord. I receive what you've said to us today, God, and I cannot wait to see the abundance that all of us are going to be living soon and very soon, Lord. And in the beginning, before it even happens, Lord, I thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Powerful prayer. Woo, woo, woo. Go Jesus.
Yeah,
Thank
for sure.
you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for tuning in, everyone, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. You got to end it.